Good afternoon. This afternoon, I'm going to make the no need to knead bread. This is actually Jane Osborne's recipe, and I feel a bit guilty that I'm making it. And I did say to her, did she want to make it? And, you know, the webcam and the whole issue, she said, you know what, you do it. She thinks I'm better than she would be. Well, recording, maybe I am. It's the playing back is proving the issue. But anyway, we're going to make no need to knead bread. This is a wonderful recipe because I'm not very good at bread making. Arthritic hands don't do well with kneading stuff. But this is fine because you do it all with a mixer, but you must have a mixer with dough hooks. Now this is a hand mixer with dough hooks, which you will see more than adequate, or you may have a stand mixer with dough hooks. I, for some reason, don't have the dough hooks for my Kenwood chef, no idea why. I've got a K beater and a whisk, but not dough hooks. But I bought this and it's got dough hooks. It's absolutely fine. And I've been making bread with it, well, all the time since lockdown started. Oh, I haven't got my headset on with my microphone on, I've just been told by the technical crew. It's in the other room. So I'm going to put this on pause and rush and get it. Right, I'm back. So all you need, it's very, very easy. You need 500 grams of bread flour. Now, this can be any sort of flour. We go to White's in the village and they sell the most gorgeous 7 seed flour and what else? Devon cod flour, all sorts of different flours. We've got tomato and garlic flour. It doesn't matter what flour you use, it works. However, since Bob had a bit of a, IBS issue, we've stopped with the flour with seeds in. At the moment, we're just on plain white flour, strong bread flour, but that's all we use. I use an ordinary loaf tin, of which I have 4. I was going to buy, it's better, well, no, not better. You can use a silicone tin, but I've been going and buying one and I've got 4 loaf tins. Why would I want to? So I use the good old bread liner, but I also grease the edges of the tin because it does come up over the edge of the tin and it sticks there. And as you can see by this very sad tin, you see we had to chip it out. One of them stuck, we had to chip it out and ruined this tin. Well, unless you use liner. So line your tin somehow and grease all around the edges so that you can get it out. You'll see on, you know what we need to use for the recipe, so I'm just going to whiz over to the other camera. I did offer the technical crew an opportunity to film this himself because he makes bread quite often, but he said, oh no, you're better at talking about it. I'm better at talking than I am at those things, it has to be said. So I am now going to demonstrate what we do. And what we do is we put in 500 grams of bread flour. We put in, if we have scissors, we put in 1 sachet of dried yeast. Now, of course, when we started all this malarkey over a year ago, you couldn't get bread flour, dried yeast for love nor money, but now it's not a problem. And in fact, when I was in the kitchen, when I was a bit naughty because I got, when it was in the shops, I got squillions because that was a good thing to do. So I'm just going to grease the edges of my tin with this. Now, the only problem we have, which you may not have, is when the heating is not on, we don't have anywhere terribly warm to put this. We don't have an airing cupboard that gets warm. We've got an airing cupboard, but there's no heating in it. There's tanks in the attic, boilers in the attic. So actually, when it's a sunny day, we stick it out in our summer house because it's really warm out there. So I've greased the edges of my tin. I've put my liner in. I've got my flour in there, and you need a teaspoonful of salt. I actually always put in, which is not in the recipe, but I think I put it in my recipe. It's not in Jane's original recipe. I always put a teaspoonful of sugar because most bread recipes you have a teaspoonful of sugar in, so that's what I do. And then you put in some tepid water. The water is in the microwave and we're going to warm it in the microwave. And you want tepid water. Tepid is a very flexible temperature, isn't it? So that's a bit tricky, but tepid. I think warmer rather than cooler. Now, the recipe, again, Jane's original recipe is 3 tablespoons of oil, vegetable oil. I'm using rapeseed oil, I notice. I do have vegetable oil. I've just grabbed the first bottle, which is rapeseed, but this is vegetable oil. I'm sure rapeseed would be fine, actually, but hey, I'm going to put vegetable in for the others. So that's 3. Now, we find that a little bit extra, because a couple of times we didn't measure very carefully, it spilt over a bit, and we found that it was better with a little bit more. So now I would say I use 3½ spoonfuls, which is what I put in my recipe. Just put a bit extra in, I think it's better. I use a very deep dish bowl. This is my Kenwood Chef bowl, and can you see it's very deep? Use a deep bowl to whisk this in, because there's quite a big mixture of it. It's a pound of flour, so it's quite a lot of mixture. So that's why I use that. And here comes my water, which is quite warm. I'm sure that's okay, technical person. I also think it's quite a lot. Okay. He assures me this is right. This is certainly warmer rather than colder. It's quite hot to put my finger in. He says it's right, so I'm going to pour it in. Now, then you mix it with your dough book. You need to mix it until there is no more loose flour. So you need to keep looking in the bottom of your bowl to make sure you've got no more. And I've got, can you see, let me see. I've got some loose flour in there, so I need to carry on mixing until all of that is incorporated. Right, there is no more loose bits around. I've got a scraper as opposed to a spatula. This don't start making jokes, any of you. This scraper came with my mixer actually, and it's really good for this because it scrapes it down. So you get all of this out of the bowl, and there's nothing, no loose bits in there at all. I hope no loose bits in there at all. So you get all of this, and it's a bit like sheet pastry. It comes away from the sides really well. And you put that into your tin or your silicone mold. There. If there's any bits, using your scraper or indeed spatula, put that in your tin, push it out to the sides. It will sort of find its own space, and then you put it somewhere warm. We put it on a chair next to a radiator in our breakfast room when the heating's on, because that works really well. But as I say, if you've got a nice warm airing cupboard, if you're really posh and you've got an Arga, you can put it in the warming drawer, and you leave that to rise for, I would say about 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, now clearly we're not going to watch paint rise. In a week's time you can watch bread rise. In a week's time you can watch paint dry because we've got decorators coming. But so we're just going to put that to rise, and I will show you when it's done what we do next. Towards the end of its time you can watch it rising, and when it's risen quite a lot, it should come right to the very top of that tin. Oh, let's go back to this camera. I hate talking to the cupboard. When you start to see it rise, it should come right up to the top of the tin and probably over it. When you see it getting to that level, put your oven on, because it needs to go in a hot oven. So you need to heat your oven after it's been going you know, for about half an hour, 45 minutes. It depends how long it depends how warm where you're doing it is. So get your oven lit so that it's hot at, as I say, when it's nearly the top of the tin. Okay, should be fine. I will see you later.